Welcome to Screen Judge. I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. His recent films aren't really enticing me. And after the Razzies this year, the Razzies are like the Oscars, but for the worst films of the year. And this year, Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill won every single category. And Adam Sandler wrote Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star, and that was also nominated for several Razzies. So after all this, and Adam Sandler's newest movie coming out this summer, I decided to do a career breakdown and see why Adam Sandler is making all of these, as some would call it, bad movies. Adam Sandler started in stand-up comedy, and his stand-up was pretty hilarious. Songs like the Hanukkah song are infamous Sandler works. Through the stand-up comedy, he got on Saturday Night Live, where of course, he was pretty awesome. He created some pretty awesome skits, and became a B-list house name. Through SNL, he met people like Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin, and had small roles in films like Coneheads, Airheads, and Mixed Nuts, which unfortunately all flopped, although none of those films are very good. But Adam Sandler's first lead role came in Billy Madison, which to some people is a cult classic. Now that film pretty much bombed at the box office, but was a somewhat hit. His next film, Happy Gilmore, was in the same light, and again, same responses. Some love it, some hate it, and again, it didn't make that much money at the box office, but it definitely made Adam Sandler a house name. Billy Madison's a knockoff of Back to School. Adam Sandler and some other SNL alums were supposed to star in Caddyshack 3. However, after the poor reception of Caddyshack 2, the studio decided against that, but Sandler wound up making Happy Gilmore. After Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler made Bulletproof with Damon Wayans. And it's pretty much better that we skip over that film and forget it ever happened. If you haven't seen it, keep it that way. The Wedding Singer was both a big hit and a very, very good film. Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler had very natural chemistry, and every supporting actor has a lot of fun. The film has this very fun, retro vibe, and most importantly, it's funny. Later that year, Adam Sandler was in The Waterboy, which became a gigantic hit, especially for a comedy, and made Adam Sandler one of the most biggest names in all of comedy. Critics pretty much panned it, but most people responded very nicely to it. As you all know, some films can be so bad, they're actually good. This is one of those films. Just like Sandler's next film, Big Daddy, which should be a creepy film, considering how Adam Sandler gets to know the child, but there is no doubt Adam Sandler has a great chemistry with everybody on screen. However, Adam Sandler's next movie, Little Nicky, was not a good decision. The film fails on almost every level. It is bad, but it's not good bad. This is a bad film. It does have some moments, but it mostly comes off as just completely stupid. Little Nicky bombed at the box office. And unfortunately for Sandler, Mr. Deeds, which was a big hit, is also the same way. Yes, I know some people do enjoy Mr. Deeds. I'm not one of them. Fortunately for Sandler, Punch Drunk Love came out in the exact same year as Mr. Deeds. Unfortunately for Sandler, it flopped. Why was it fortunate? Because it was a very good film. Lots of critics loved it. It was a definite mix-up for Sandler. It is definitely not for everybody, but it is a good movie. In fact, it still stands as Adam Sandler's highest-rated film on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 79%. Eight Crazy Nights didn't do that well at the box office. It definitely won over a lot of his fans. And then there's Anger Management, with Jack Nicholson. That pairing was genius. Those two had a great chemistry, and are very, very fun to watch on screen together. At least for the first 3 quarters of the film. The last quarter of the film loses all sense of direction, and goes into complete ridiculousness. Still a fun film that I go back to every once in a while. And then Sandler and Barrymore reteamed for 50 First Dates, which was a big hit as well. The film isn't great, but it's definitely good. It also gets mad props because trying to repair Barrymore and Sandler was a fantastic idea, and they carry the film on their shoulders. Then you got Spanglish. That film was okay. It did flop at the box office, and his fans didn't like it, and critics just thought it was decent. But then came Longest Yard. Longest Yard was a massive hit, wholehearted attempt by Adam Sandler. It's the fun, typical Sandler we all know, with some dramatic edge, but it's a very fun film. Click was again a pretty massive hit, and a lot of fans and critics thought it wasn't very funny. It does have its moments though, and I think the true problem is it's genre jumping. This is definitely not the worst Sandler movie ever, but it's nowhere near the best either. Reign Over Me. Sandler, he can definitely act, made this very, very, very dark story actually kind of fun in some ways. It's a fun, realistic story with a lot of dramatic edge. Definitely an interesting turn for Sandler. Later that year, though, Chuck and Larry came out. This is a completely dumb plot that exists in a parallel universe where apparently people only think you're gay if you are exactly like the stereotypical gay man. That being said, this film is still hilarious. And supporting turns from Steve Buscemi, Dan Aykroyd, and the very attractive Jessica Biel make this film definitely worth watching. Now Zohan, this is stereotypical crap that is so bad, it's actually good. And it was a decent hit at the box office. Bedtime Stories. A very Sandler film. Apparently Sandler thought dumb voices and special effects were enough to make us laugh. This was not the case. But in 2009, we got my favorite Adam Sandler film. This film hit me head on the second time. The first time I expected a comedy, and it was just okay. But upon second viewing, and every viewing after, and there have been many, I have loved it. I grew up with my grandma and grandpa. Both were diagnosed with cancer and died just a couple years apart. And let me tell you, this film absolutely nailed the symptoms and reactions of people with these serious conditions. Sandler gives his best performance as he is heartbreaking and hilarious. Seth Rogen is fantastic as his friend and fan, and Sandler and Leslie Mann have an emotional, sad, funny, and brilliant chemistry. This film may have been too long, but I love every second. But see, this film again flopped, as people again proved they do not want to see Adam Sandler in a drama. Grown Ups. One of Adam Sandler's biggest hits again, but this film has no plot. Just hilarious comedians, and it was pretty funny. I saw it 3 times in theaters, but all the jokes are jokes that your everyday person can make. And that's disappointing, because these guys are funnier than that. And I imagine their everyday conversations with each other are much funnier than that. And then this past year, we got Just Go With It. It was a complete regurgitation of the blockbuster romance formula, and I never got past a chuckle. Jack and Jill, a 4% on Tomatoes is pretty embarrassing, and it made less than average Sandler, but it still was a hit. And now Sandler has That's My Boy coming out. And I have never watched a trailer that has been such a turnoff. And Grown Ups 2? How does that make sense? Why isn't Adam Sandler making good movies? It's simple. He doesn't have to. His films will still easily make money by being horrendous. But I wish someone this talented wouldn't have to make crap films. He really is a great actor. And a very funny man. Make your comments below. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. And until next time, that's your verdict.